What is up, everybody? It is Friday. That means Beacon is bringing you new features today. So my name is Matt. I'm the training manager here at Beacon Software. Today we're going to be taking a look at the driver settings, and we're also going to show you how to do some pre-trip inspections within Dispatch Anywhere as well. So we've been getting a lot of requests on how to do this, so we're going to take a look at that today. For anybody that is on the live stream, if you want to start, if you have any questions, you want to leave them in the chat box to the right, go ahead and do that. I see those pop up on stream. For anybody watching this after the fact, feel free to leave a comment below, or you can always contact us at Beacon Support through email, or you can do it through giving us a call on our support line Monday through Friday. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. We'll take a look here. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and load up our settings screen here. So we're going to take a look at the admin side for the drivers here first. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and log into my account. All right, so settings.dispatchanywhere.net. So you should have an admin login for this. And down the left-hand side, we'll see DA for drivers. All right. So we have a couple settings here. We have company settings, which are overall settings for the entire account. And then we have division-specific settings. So in this case, we only have one division, Greenlight Towing. But if we have multiple locations, we'd be able to do settings for different locations, depending on what we want our drivers to be able to do. So we'll start with the company settings. So enable QR assignment and driver checklist. So the QR assignment, that's going to be these scan codes. We're going to show you how to generate these in a little bit. These are going to allow the driver to scan this code and assign themselves to their truck. All right. Enabling driver checklist allows them to not only scan into their truck, we can also come up with a list of basically a pre-trip inspection that we want them to check over before starting their shift. They'll be able to mark items passed or failed. They'll also be able to put additional notes. In addition to being able to keep track of this, we also get an email if anything fails. We also have reports in the system that you'll be able to take a look at too, in case you have to run it later. And then require GPS tracking on new jobs. This is a newer feature that was turned on or added somewhat recently. This requires that the GPS for the driver must be turned on for them to see their jobs. If they have their GPS turned off, they do get a notice that their GPS needs to be turned on before they can see their jobs. So this does require, or it prevents them from shutting things off and not being able to track them for accuracy, things like that. So those are company settings. So any of these changes will affect multiple locations if you have them. Now, division-specific settings, in this case we have Greenlight Towing. I can allow my drivers to take payments on the mobile app, on the DA driver app. I can allow them to edit services. Now, let's look at these in a grouping here, because these kind of go hand in hand. If I have the first one turned on, allow drivers to edit services, this allows them to add services to the call, and that's it. If I have the second one selected here, this is going to allow my drivers to add services and also see the pricing for those services. So if you have a situation where maybe the drivers only need to add services, but you don't really want them to see pricing, you can go ahead and shut off that second one. Right. If you have all three of these turned on, the driver can add services, see the pricing, and then they can also edit the pricing. So if you have a situation where your drivers need to edit pricing, you have this option. You can turn it on here. And again, if you have multiple locations or multiple divisions, you can turn these on and off depending on kind of what you need or what suits your business. Right. Prompt driver for keys upon arrival to destination. What this is, when the driver timestamps that they drop the vehicle in the field, it's going to automatically prompt them for who they're handing the keys to. They would put that person's name in, and then they would get a signature on that as well. Now, they can do this regardless of whether this is turned on or not. They can do it manually, but if you want this to remind the drivers or happen every single time, we can turn it on here. And then allow drivers to create jobs. This is going to be a feature that allows the driver to create a job while they're in the field. Usually this is used for private property most of the time, but we have other customers using it for other situations. That specific piece, if you're interested in it, next week we're actually going to be covering the driver app. So we're going to go and do some examples next week. So if you're interested, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so then we can cover that next week. All right. The last two options on here, driver history and driver view history. Driver edit history, this allows the driver to edit fields that you might have said that were required in the field. This gives them, in this case, or this example, 3 days to go back and edit that job if they need to. So if they need to update it, add pictures, whatever the case is, they have up to 3 days to go back, or whatever value that you put here. Now, view history is how far back for old calls they can go back and see. So, for example, if I had something like 30 days here, they could go back up to 30 days and see previous calls. Now, this is also a rolling 30 days. So, in our case, today's October 18th, they'd be able to go back to September 18th to see their calls. So, if you need it maybe a full month, you might need to do something like 45 days or 60 days, depending on how far back you want your drivers to see their calls. All right. The other setting in here, or admin settings that you can control, are these mobile fields. Right. Originally, these fields were for texting before we had the smartphone app. You could decide what goes out to the driver. Right. You can still control a couple things here, though. Everything on the left-hand side is unassigned. Everything on the right is assigned, meaning they see these fields on their DA driver app. A lot of times if people are going to make edits to this, they take away things like, if I don't want my driver to be able to see pricing, for example, over here I have amount taken away, and you might take away things like, let me see if it's on here. See, we have a lot of stuff turned on in our test database. There's one for services and services pricing. Charge pricing is the exact word on it. It's somewhere on this list. But if I don't want them to see, let's say the VIN, for example, I can take that one specific item and move it to the left. All right. So it goes in the unassigned column. And then vice versa. If I need them to see, I don't know, the payment method, for example, I can move that to the right. Some of the things like the addresses you can't control, those are there by default. But things like email address or pricing, sometimes you might need the drivers to see all their timestamps, so you can move those over, or who the dispatcher was, things like that. Maybe if they have questions, you can make a couple edits here, and then the driver just gets more information or less depending on what you want them to see. But again, that's mobile fields. That's how you can control what they see through their DA driver app. In addition to possibly making some edits on the general tab here. Right? So those are the settings, the admin settings that you can create. What we're going to do next here, I'm going to show you some of the settings on the driver app. So let's see if I can get this to come up here. I'm going to try to mirror my phone here on the screen. Yeah, there it goes. All right, so this is my phone. It's just a copy of it here. I'm going to go into the DA for Drivers app, all right, which is that orange icon. So go ahead and sign in. Use my fingerprint. Here we go. All right, so this is for the scan code. You can see my headset there. I'm going to skip this for right now. I'm going to show you this in a second. This is going to be how they scan into the truck and also create their pre-trip inspection. All right, so DA for driver, so I'm logged in here. Now the driver's in the upper left-hand corner here. There's these three lines. They call it a hamburger icon. You can go ahead and click on it. This is where they can see their assigned jobs, previous jobs, etc., switch trucks. I'm going to go into the settings for right now. All right. So these are the different settings the driver has. So it shows who you're logged in as. They can change the job labels. So instead of seeing it by job number, they can see it by purchase order number or even ticket number, depending on what they want to see. Requested by, if they don't want to see that, they can uncheck it. Printer selected. If they have the Bluetooth printers to print out receipts or payment receipts in the field, this is how you can pair it up ahead of time. Enable tracking. I wanted to show you that that was there. The drivers can shut off their tracking. Depending on what you have in your admin settings, though, if you require that the tracking's turned on and they turn this off, they won't be able to see any of their jobs. All right. We have the version here. The notification tones. Let's go and click on that. We purposely have a couple different notification tones in here. Now you can use the default one. Some of these other ones, I don't know if we can hear it here. My volume's pretty low here. Let's see if we can get this My volume's pretty low on my phone, but a lot of these tones were created to purposely be loud so they could hear it in the truck. My recommendation is that your driver goes in and changes it to one of these ahead of time. That way it just makes it easier for them when they're getting new calls. I use Foghorn. I think that one's the loudest one, but obviously they have different options. Then there is an option to connect the Square reader if you are a customer that has integration with Square. And then there is a diagnostic report at the bottom. If drivers are having potential problems with not hearing sounds for whatever reason or just having problems with the device, we recommend sending that to us, and then we can troubleshoot a little bit further with the driver. All right, so those are the driver settings. Now on Android, it's actually very similar on Apple. I'm going to go into our settings here. All right. On Android, we have this apps section here. So it shows all the apps that are installed. So I'm going to scroll down to DA for driver. All right. So it shows mobile data, things like that. Under permissions here, location also needs to be turned on. So if the driver shut this off, but they have it turned on within the app, they're still not going to be able to see their jobs. It will prompt them to turn this on every single time if it is off, but if a driver's not seeing their jobs, most likely that their location is turned off within their account settings. All right, so those are the different options that the driver has on their side. All right, oops, my phone locked here. Let's go ahead and shut this off. So we're going to go ahead and minimize this and kill that connection. All right. And then I am going to go back into the settings here. So that's all the different settings that you can adjust. So the next thing we're going to talk about today is the pre-trip inspection that the drivers can do in the field. So again, with the setting, if you have it turned on, you'd have to have both of these turned on, enable the QR and the driver checklist. To set up a checklist, we're going to do that in the settings as well. So settings.dispatchanywhere.net again. But this time we're going to go to our dictionary. All right, so let me leave this. We have a bunch of different dictionaries. Today we're specifically talking about the driver checklist. All right. These are the default items, and your account may have some defaults in it already. We can obviously add to this, delete ones we don't need, things like that. So, things like a grinder, safety equipment, battery, mirrors, or a line, things like that. So this is the list of items that we come up with. The truck type are the specific trucks that the drivers may scan into that basically triggers this item. So if they scan into this 4x4 flatbed, for example, this item, in addition to all the ones that say all, they're also going to see brakes, battery, and lights, for example. If I scan into, let's say, a wheel lift, for example, I'm only going to see the ones that say all. Anything that says flatbed or 4x4 flatbed will not come up for me because it's not for the vehicle that I'm scanning into. And I'll show you how that relates here in a second. We can change this to different truck types that we may have. And then obviously, if I want to add additional items, if I added gas, for all the items, I can add that at the bottom and save it. All right. These little icons to the right, these are just icons that allows you to drag and move the item. So a lot of times people will make their list and then they'll go back and adjust it for maybe how the driver's going to be walking around the vehicle. So for example, maybe the tires are supposed to be first, so I want that item at the top. I can move that up on my list, and that's the first thing that shows up for the driver. So not only can you get different services, you can also adjust it for hopefully a walkthrough, how the driver's going to go around the truck, and then get specific with your truck types here. The only thing to note about your truck types, let's go to our vehicles very quickly. Whatever we have as this here, this truck type, in this case this is a heavy tow, this is what it's looking for. So for example, these flatbeds, those are completely different than a 4x4 flatbed, for example. The system treats it as two separate truck types. So just make sure when you're making your list, you check your truck types to make sure that the item that you want is going to match the truck that the driver is going to scan into. All right. So that's how we set up the pre-trip inspection. Now, to actually get our QR codes, I'm going to scan or log into our Dispatch Anywhere here. Make this a little bit bigger. If we go to our report section, administrative reports, service vehicle QR codes, right? Now I can run it for a specific truck. I can run it for all of them. I'm going to run it specifically for the Matt truck because that's the one that I use for testing all the time. So it prints a single QR code for me. All right. So what I'm going to do now, let's see if I can bring my phone back up. Okay, let's bring this up. Broadcast. All right, here's my phone again. Let's see here. All right, I'm going to bring up our driver app again. Right. Now, when the driver signs into the driver app, it asks them to scan the truck right away. If they go into the menu here, they can switch truck in the middle there. And that's going to bring up their camera again. So there's my headset again and all the wires on my desk. We're going to try to scan this code here. There it is. So once I scan that code, so the Matt truck I think is a flatbed, you can see the different items that come up. All right, so at this point now I can mark things as passed or failed, whatever I need to do. I can put additional remarks. I'll be like, maybe gas tank is empty, whatever it is, crying face, whatever I want to put on there. I'll say tires are fine. And then I can save it at the top up there, all right? In this case, I'll show you here how you can change it, but in this case, because something failed, we're going to get an email letting us know that the Matt truck failed because of the gas, or whatever item that the driver, or multiple items that the driver's marked as failed. The drivers have access to this on the app though. Right underneath switch truck, there's the latest inspection. So if they need to bring this up for whatever reason, it will show what truck they scan into. Everything's dated and timestamped. So just right now at 1:16, pass, and we can see the gas failed, and then the gas tank is empty. All right, so we have our option there. So that's going to be saved to the driver's phone until they scan another truck, whatever it happens to be. In Dispatch Anywhere, under Dispatch Reports, we have two. We have a driver inspection and a driver inspection list report. And these can be ran, so if I run it, I'll just run it whatever for a date range, just so we can see some data here. In this case, I scanned this one today, 10/18. My Matt, pass, gas failed, comments, gas tank is empty. So this will keep track of it. The other report's very similar to this one. It's just more of a list view. But this one, if you run this, if you want to show only failed vehicle inspections, you'll see that here too. Right? So those are always in the system, in addition to you getting an email about a failed inspection. And let me show you that real quick. Under your company tab, the shop manager's email down here, and it tells us here with this, email used to receive failed vehicle inspection notices, separate multiple emails with a comma. All right, so Brian has a couple of his emails in here. So Brian, actually Nick, and then Sasha all just got an email that I just failed inspection on that truck. So you can add multiple people here. Basically, anybody that needs to know that if there's a potential problem with your truck, you can put their email down here, and then if any of those fail, you'll see that. As far as the reports go, the drivers can skip scanning into a truck. If you run a report, though, you're going to know right away if they scanned into a truck or not, or did their inspection. It's either a yes or no type thing. So if the drivers aren't doing it, you're able to run a report. No data will pull up. And also on their phone, they won't be able to see anything. So you'll have an idea if your drivers are doing this, if this is a feature that you want to use. Right? So a couple different settings here, or how to configure them. Right? So with that being said, that's everything I had for our Feature Friday today. So just to recap, we went over the administrative settings for the drivers here in Settings under DA Drivers. We showed you some of the settings on the driver's phone today, including location or GPS that needs to be turned on, assuming you have it required here. Right. And then we looked at the vehicle inspection or the pre-trip inspections that drivers can do, and then just showed you how to set that up and get either the reports or an email for any failed inspections. Right. With that being said, I appreciate your time today. Next week, we're going to be covering in detail the driver app, so how they can create calls, how they should be time stamping it, how they can add pictures, signatures, get damage waivers, things like that in the field. So we're going to go ahead and look at all that next Friday. So if you like the videos, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. This way you'll get notified when any new videos come out, or any new updates that we do come out. And again, if you have any questions, definitely give us a call, leave a comment below, or send an email to support@beaconsoftco.com, and we can help you out that way too. Hope everybody has a great weekend. We will talk to you next week. Take care, everybody. Thank you.